This Day in Sports History. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Welcome to This Day in Sports History. On this day, we had some memorable NBA games and may have some more today. A football game that was better than a gift to the Jelly of the Month Club, and a baseball game that may have influenced the growth of the game in the U.S. All that, plus a non-sports fun fact about a guy named Christmas coming up at the end. Stick around. I'll tip it off right after this. This episode is brought to you by the Sterling Soap Company. Sterling Soap is 100% natural, and with a wide variety of bath soaps, shave soaps, beard balm, lotions, and cologne, there's a product and a scent for everybody. And I'm not just saying that. I'm an actual customer. I've been buying Sterling Soap for over a year now, sampling different products and scents along the way, and I have not come across a single scent that I don't like yet. Check them out for yourself at sterlingsoap.com. That's STIRLING soap.com. So the NBA will celebrate a tradition of playing on Christmas Day today with 5 games to stuff your stocking full of dunks, three-pointers, and maybe a buzzer beater or two. The NBA played its first Christmas Day game in 1947 when the New York Knicks beat the Providence Steamrollers. And with the lone exception of 1998, the league has scheduled at least one Christmas Day game. Now, they would have played one in 98 as well, but the players were locked out in a labor dispute, and there were not any NBA games until the following February. But let's revisit a few memorable games from years past, starting with what happened on this day in 1985, when it was rookie Patrick Ewing and his New York Knicks versus Bird, McHale, Parrish, and the Boston Celtics. Now, the Celtics were the defending conference champs, and they would end this season as the world champs. And in the early going, they played like world champs, building a 25-point lead. But Ewing powered the Knicks back into it, scoring 32 and grabbing 11 rebounds. New York erased the lead to tie it up and send the game into overtime. The Knicks outscored the Celtics by 9 in the OT to win 113-104, and it was one of only 23 wins for the Knicks that season and one of only 15 losses for Boston that year. The following year, 1986, Ewing and the Knicks returned for another Christmas Day game, this time in a marquee matchup with Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. This was MJ's third year in the league, but his first appearance in a Christmas Day game. The game was at Madison Square Garden, and Jordan was putting on a show for the Gotham City crowd.
There's no fast break left in the Knicks. They're back to the slow down, walk it up type of offense.
Henderson on the return pass from Ewing, batted away. 4-on-2, Michael Jordan. Oh! And the Bulls lead. First time in the game.
MJ dropped 30 on the Knicks, but he went a little silent in the last 5 minutes of the game. But still, after Dave Corzine rebounded a Jordan miss, hit the putback, got the and-one, and made the free throw, the Bulls had a 1-point lead with 6 seconds left. That set up the dramatic finish on the other end.
Comes in to Tucker. Ewing sets a screen. The shot is off. Loose ball. Ewing goes up. The basket counts.
Ewing's Christmas miracle capped off his 28-point, 19-rebound performance. How about another memorable one from Christmas Day in the NBA? In 2004, it was the first meeting between Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant since the Diesel's departure from the Lakers to sunny South Florida. You could say that there had been some animosity between these two when they were teammates, winning back-to-back-to-back championships with the Lakers. Shaq questioned Kobe's leadership ability. Kobe fired back with claims that Shaq was fat and out of shape when he showed up for training camp, and that he seemed to always blame everybody else for losses, but not him. After Shaq was traded to the Miami Heat, the bad feelings continued to simmer. The week prior to this game, Shaquille was interviewed during the Monday Night Football game, and he told Al Michaels that Kobe was a Corvette and that he was a brick wall. Things were a bit icy between the two prior to the tip.
There's a greeting between O'Neal and Odom first, and here comes Kobe out into the picture, and Shaq with a little elbow, but never looked at him, looked right over the top of Kobe's head. And of course, Shaq has gotten to the point now he doesn't even refer to Kobe by name.
This was a pretty tight game throughout. The Lakers led by 2 at half. They were up 4 after 3 quarters. Shaq fouled out in the 4th, finishing with 24 points and 11 boards. But the Heat was able to erase the 4-point deficit, tie it up, and they had 2 shots to win it in regulation, but both missed. So to overtime it went, and Dwayne Wade took over the scoring load.
Wade, a little floater from the lane, and Miami is up by 5 as we tick down to 2 minutes remaining in overtime.
Wade finished with 29 and 10, and as you heard Al Michaels say, that bucket put the Heat up 104-99. Kobe went cold in this one, scoring his last bucket with 2:15 left in regulation. With 3.4 left in OT, LA was down 2, but they had the ball out of a timeout. The ball was only going one place.
And Jumaine Jones to inbound. Bryant gets doubles. Kobe Bryant. Amazing that it didn't go in the way with his history and all of the drama and this whole day. And so for Kobe Bryant, he has the one chance at the end. Can't make it go down. And Shaquille O'Neal and Miami Heat have won 11 straight games.
Kobe did finish the day with 42 in the losing effort. There was no meeting between the Mamba and the Diesel after the horn sounded. Kobe retreated to the locker room very quickly. After the game, both Kobe and Shaq deflected any more build-up to their rivalry, and by the next year, a thaw began in their relationship, and by 2009, they were back to being tight. The rivalry did bring some eyeballs to this game, though. It was the highest-rated NBA regular season game since 1998 and stayed that way for a couple of years. On this day in 1971, it was the first game the NFL ever played on Christmas Day, and it turned out to be the longest NFL game ever played on any day. This was the gift that just kept on giving. This was a divisional playoff game between the Miami Dolphins and the Kansas City Chiefs. The Dolphins loved running the football with their backfield duo of Jim Kick and Larry Zonka. The Chiefs had been a brick wall against the run that season with the second-best rushing defense in the AFC. But the man really doing the running in this game was Kansas City's Ed Podolak. Throughout the day, he racked up 350 all-purpose yards, which set a new NFL playoff record. He scored twice as well, giving the Chiefs a really good chance to win it in regulation. The Dolphins were a young, scrappy team at this point, and they fought to stay in the ballgame. Miami had the ball, but they trailed by 7 with under 2 minutes to play, but were able to find a path to the end zone for the equalizer. Here's KC's play-by-play man, Dick Carlson, with the call that day for AM 580 WIBW.
And right, Kick and Sock to the running backs, and Greasy the quarterback, a long count. Taking his time, drops back, wants to throw, under pressure, being rushed, rolls right, throws, touchdown! Marv Fleming with tight end. And again, it was a scrambling Greasy who found Marv Fleming open, just as he did early in the football game in a very big play. And it is now 24-23.
But there was still time left for the Chiefs, and with a strong kicker like Jan Stenerud, they did not have to go very far. On the ensuing kickoff, they got more than they really needed. Here's Carlson again.
Podolak and McVay at the goal line, and Yepremian's kick is in the air. Podolak at the 1, up the middle, 10, the 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50,
Carlson gets drowned out a bit there at the end, but Podolak nearly housed the kickoff. But his 78-yard kickoff return put the Chiefs in great position. After a few plays to set up the potential game winner, Stenerud's 32-yard attempt was wide right. And looking back at his stats that year, he struggled from that distance, hitting just 4 of his 8 attempts. He'd miss an even longer one in the first overtime. That would have won it again for the Chiefs. So the game dragged on into the second overtime. Instead, it was the Dolphins' diminutive left-footed kicker, Garo Yepremian, the man who looked more like he was your CPA than a football player, who came on with 7:20 left in OT number 2 and booted a 37-yard field goal to win it for Miami. The veteran Chiefs were sent home for the rest of the playoffs, while the Dolphins moved on. Larry Zonka said it gave the young Miami team confidence that they belonged in the NFL.
That was the first time that the Dolphins realized that we just weren't a flash in the pan, and that game seemed to go on forever. But somehow, some way, someone would make a play to keep us in it. I think it was the first time that we realized that we could play heads-up football with just about anyone.
Let's go back to 1862 and a baseball game played on Hilton Head Island in South Carolina. Now, obviously, this was during the American Civil War, and Hilton Head was under Union control at this point in the war, and it was home to thousands of soldiers, military families, and freed slaves. There was a very large federal base located here, and it was a strategic location for the Union Army's three-piece Anaconda Plan to restrict supplies coming in and cotton getting out. Christmas Day 1862 was a rare day off for the federal troops on the island, and a full day of festivities was planned with a baseball game capping off a huge feast and celebration. There are differing accounts of the day, but there was an estimation of 40,000 in attendance to watch the game, which would have easily made it one of the most attended sporting events in the 19th century. Others believe that number is greatly exaggerated and that it was more like 10,000 watching from the dunes around the field. Most reports from that day come from a guy named A.G. Mills, who was known to embellish things and make up things without any basis in fact, but it is known that he was one of the players that day and would later become the president of the National Baseball League in the 1870s. Now, the rules of the day differed from place to place and really depended on where you were from. New York rules differed from Boston, and the South had its own way of playing as well. For example, one rule played in some areas but was not in effect on this day was called soaking, which was a way to record an out by throwing the ball at the runner and hitting them with it before they reached the base. Even the number of bases used differed from region to region and city to city. On this day, 3 New York regiments made up the two teams. On one, there were members of the 47th and 48th Regiment, and the other team comprised of lads from the 165th New York Volunteer Light Infantry. So, New York or Brooklyn rules were probably used on this day, which historians say became the most used way to play the game after the war. They played 9 to a side, the ball was pitched underhand, there was fair and foul territory, and the positions on the field were similar to today's version. Some versions played 1 out per side, others played 3, or other versions even more than that. Some games were played until one team scored 100. But on this day, the scoring used and even the final score is lost to history. But many credit the growth of baseball with uniting the country after the war due to the fact that so many soldiers were exposed to it during the war. And the exposure it got on this day in 1862 surely helped. And on this day in 1956, Detroit Red Wings great Gordie Howe scored 3 goals and assisted 3 others in an 8-1 win over the New York Rangers. His 6 points on the day was the most he ever scored in a game in his 26-year career. And time now for today's That's Got Nothing to Do with Sports fun fact. With it being Christmas Day, I have a sort of Christmas-themed fact for you, though it is not so fun and it has nothing to do with the actual holiday. Instead, a man with the last name of Christmas is credited with designing and building the worst airplane ever made. His Christmas bullet looked like a regular plane, but he intentionally did not put struts on the wing. You know, those things that actually hold the wing onto the actual aircraft? It flapped a bit like a bird, but the wing was not articulated with any avian-like features. On its initial test flight, the wings peeled away from the fuselage about 200 feet in the air. And yet, you guessed it, the plane crashed and the test pilot died. Nobody found out about that crash, though, so he built another one with 0 modifications, and he sent that one up for a test flight with the exact same result. Wings popped off, plane nosedived, pilot died. Christmas abandoned the design after that. That's all I've got for you today. Enjoy your Christmas. I'll see you back here tomorrow for another This Day in Sports History. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.